just want y'all to know we recorded an entire intro episode. Didn't press record. Yeah, didn't press record on the mic. So now instead of repeating ourselves and doing that whole thing again, we're just gonna record the second episode, and then we're gonna come back on a different day, record the intro, and then post it before. Yeah, it does look good. Oh God, I hate myself though. Why did we do that, bro? We were just like sitting here recording, and then I like looked over, and I was like, wait a second.
Bro, I was dead ass right at the beginning. I meant to like
ask, yeah, double check.
And then we just started talking, so I was just like,
well, like you see the waveform, and so it makes you think you're recording, but it's not recording.
That sucks. That's okay though.
It's like some major ass.
That's all right.
Won't you show me?
I like that. Kind of like, I want to keep this raw. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I want to try to keep it as raw as possible. Sure. You know, if anytime we need to get up and like, obviously maybe like change a battery or some shit, like we'll do that.
Keep it raw.
And then like also like, I don't know how much we want to like address the camera, but we'll figure it out.
I like just like this.
Yeah, I like that the most for sure. But then like maybe when sometimes we do talk to a viewer, maybe we can look at it too. We'll fill it out.
It feels natural. So let's just start. Let's start the second episode off. We'll start the second episode off by just acknowledging what just happened. So me and Lex were recording our first episode on the podcast, and I did not press record on this recorder right here. So instead of like repeating ourselves and talking about, because I told Lex, I was like, I don't think we can record that whole episode again, because we were like 30 minutes into it,
pretty good
and like I would have felt dumb saying the same thing. So we're just gonna jump right into this second episode, and we're gonna come back on another day and record the intro. So
you want to do the bad things about mistakes?
Yeah. So
we can kind of like maybe even stuff that we've gone through, so it's not like totally conceited. Like maybe some mistakes that
not sound like these like know-it-all people.
Yeah. Because full disclosure, I'm confident in a lot of my things I do, but like and like that may come off as like a know-it-all, sometimes.
But it's only because you've been there.
Because I've been there, right?
Yeah.
I've been there, and then also like maybe I haven't because I've seen other people been there.
For sure.
I think just getting right into it, a lot of the mistakes that I saw at like places I worked, I knew immediately I didn't want to fucking make that mistake. So I like didn't do that. Like I was very intentional about like not going down that path, and I can start it off with one of the mistakes like that I noticed like very hot. Like
let's go for it. So just to name this video, just to give people an idea of what we're about to go into, we're just going to be talking about mistakes we see, other people make, or mistakes that we've made in business that we think really hinders them.
For sure. Number one is just not being decisive enough on a direction or a job or money, like a quote, whatever it is. Just like being very undecisive and not backing that with confidence of like, this is it. This is the line, being back and forth too many times, right? So like a good example I can see a lot of people is like, pricing would be number one. Like always jumping around, like figuring out what the fuck they want to charge, or they're not sure, all this kind of stuff, for a job or even taking a job. Like, so especially in weddings, especially in our field, every job that you take is one that you say no to as well to others. So like always keeping that in my mind, I knew from the very early on, I wasn't going to take. I knew everything I took, I analyzed like crazy. Okay. What date is it? What's this couple like?
You're very selective about
where's this at?
The weddings that you took on.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Just selective in a way where I paid attention to the ones I was taking. Sure, when I first started, I was taking a lot more than, turning away, But I understood that there was a time period for that. When I started, I knew it was just a growth. I had to, because I couldn't afford to be so selective.
For sure.
But after that first year was gone, bro, like that was like, okay, it was on to the next. Like I'm not staying fucking like give me everything at the beginning. That's just not what my plan was.
Right.
And that just like followed up, like I said, with like price, being more firm in like my price, knowing that I think when we met, you were like, it's super easy to get booked up at the beginning because you're maybe charging like $1,000, right? But then like at some point when you start charging more, it starts saying no to those $1,000 ones. So that's like a way to like start filtering and shit like that. So
for sure. Yeah, and to your point about the confidence thing, I find it's so true in business, but like even in like dating too, it's like confidence is so huge because it's like people will look to you to form their opinion about you. Like
Yeah.
their opinion will match your own opinion of yourself. So it's like,
Yeah.
if you think you're really good, people are gonna be like, okay, he's good.
For sure.
And if you are doubting yourself, they're like, oh, well, if they're doubting themselves,
I'm
you
gonna
know what I'm
doubt
saying?
him. Yeah.
And that goes with like confidence in dating. You know what I'm saying? Like, with like women and like, if you're not confident, like,
Yeah.
dude, game over.
Yeah. And everything for sure.
Yeah, and so even with business, it's like, yeah, for sure. If you always, are given deals, discounts,
For sure.
you're just devaluing yourself. So like, yeah, I think, owning whatever choice you make and just having that confidence, definitely.
Right.
It's a
And
big
I
one.
think like from the beginning, that's like the best thing you can have. Like from the jump, even if without experience, at least having a game plan that you're going to execute.
Right.
Like I felt like like I said, the best thing I did from the beginning was I knew taking on all these weddings was temporary.
Right.
Like saying yes to a majority of everything was temporary. I wasn't doing it blindly. I was doing it as a means to the next step. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't do that, especially in weddings. That's how they get fucking burnt out. They just keep taking. Next thing you know, they have like a fuck ton of weddings.
For sure.
You feeling guilty or
yeah,
a little convicted? But I mean, like
that.
it's only. I'll say I only knew that though because of the place I worked before. There was a lot, in my opinion, there was a lot of stuff we were just taking, and we just didn't have, number one, the manpower for it. Number two, like it was small money in my opinion. Like it was small temporary gain for not long term vision.
So that's kind of, so you're almost making a separate point where the first point was just be confident and own
For sure.
what you decide, and your next point here, it sounds like you're saying basically, don't just play the small game and think short term gain. Think more like big picture vision.
For sure.
and overall growth.
Absolutely.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because there definitely is two sides to that for sure. That other main side from the get go was just don't think small picture all the time. Don't immediately get into business and be like, this is only going so far. This is only this or whatever. Like think big picture, but like small picture helps you get to that big picture. So like that's kind of just how I always thought of it. Like my things that I'm doing now is moving the needle to get to the things I want in the future. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
I always thought about it that way with multiple different things. So,
Right.
But not a lot of people they think about big picture, but they don't think about the little picture getting them there. Or they'll think about little picture and not any big picture at all. Like
No, yeah.
they need to coexist together in some way.
100%.
So.
Yeah, I think the first one that jumps out at me, we've talked about this so many times, but just like you wouldn't think that it would need to be said, but just how important aesthetic is in branding.
Yeah.
You would think it would be obvious. It's 2022. Social media is a thing, and I feel like I still see so many businesses, so many brands, obviously in our space, creative kind of world, but also just like restaurants and any sort of businesses just kind of neglecting aesthetic. And like we are, for better or worse, you might not, it might suck to admit. It might suck to admit that we're shallow creatures, but like we are aesthetically driven creatures. You know what I'm saying? We date largely off of what we see. It's like we're driven by visuals, and so I think just like really placing to a high importance your website, social media.
Yeah,
sounds obvious, but it's really not. And so I think that's a big one. But even you're just your Instagram. Me and you kind of disagree on this one. Let's get into that.
We'll fight about it.
So I mean, I think Lex agrees with me on this one. But maybe not completely. So like I'm in the camp of, quality over quantity. I will literally not post Instagram for months at a time if it means, keeping the quality standard, up to a certain bar.
Sure.
I'd rather not post than post something that I'm going to regret posting. I'd rather keep the feed looking pristine, only posting. I really like to control the narrative, honestly. I think I first started kind of falling in love with that sort of philosophy. Like early on, I started like really studying like Apple and the way they do business. And if you notice, they're very like just kind of controlling over like what people see, and like they have a very neat social media presence. Like even if you go on their YouTube, I'm pretty sure they mute all the comments. Like you can't comment on their videos. So it's just like this very sort of like controlled approach, very like thought out. And I really liked that when I started business.
Yeah.
And where you, on the other hand, you were more sort of like I don't say free spirited, but more like liberal with what you post and when you post and how you do it and stuff.
For sure. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong or like not right with what you're saying about your approach on it. In my opinion, the only thing that hinders you is the perfectionism in that. Like, I think there is a threshold where it's perfection kills, though, too, especially in business. There's a threshold where perfection, like being like on the aesthetics part of it, being like very firm, where, you know, quality control, all that kind of stuff is super important, absolutely. But I also think there's a threshold, especially in weddings, where that perfectionism is subjective, like art, right? Like, all we're doing is most of the time is we're posting art that's all subjective. So a work that you wouldn't post because you don't think is good, you could post and there could be like hundreds that think is good.
But inevitably, like you must admit, like, this is sort of like a law of nature where it's like as quantity goes up, quality goes down. You can't control it. It's inevitable. It's like supply and demand. It's like if the store has one of anything, one unit of any product left versus if they have 100 left, the price is usually going to be different.
Yeah.
If there were 100 videographers in Lafayette that were all as good as us,
yeah,
or, you know, all up to a certain standard,
yeah,
maybe we wouldn't be able to charge. Like a big part of us being able to charge what we're able to charge is because there's only a handful of us.
for
See
sure.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get that.
And so that goes to social media too.
Agree.
The more you post, naturally, quality is going to go down.
Well, I think quality doesn't just go straight down. I think it's just gonna flex. It's gonna vary.
Fair enough.
So like, because there's like the way I look at like the quality in my posts. Yeah, there are more quality posts than like it's not like quality on quality. It's not like that. It's like, oh, that was quality and that hit really good. Okay, that was shit. Okay, that was quality. Okay, that was shit. Okay, that was shit.
Right.
Okay, now that was good. You
You're
know,
average.
right. So that's like the way I look at it more is like, I'm just trying to like
Hit new highs. You're trying to hit new.
I'm
PRs.
trying to hit new highs, but then also like stay consistent, like and as much as I can, obviously. But at the same time, like I'm also not like I'm not as a perfectionist, you know. I think I definitely range a little bit more in like, you know, what I think will be nice versus what you would think would be nice, you know. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's like
This is a good conversation, good debate.
right. No,
Yeah.
it is. I think that's what makes you, and like I think you shouldn't stay away from that unless you wanted to, you know.
100%.
And like I would recommend that for anybody, you know, like determine what you think is quality for you, you know. I wouldn't let anyone else tell me what they think is quality. That being said, I wouldn't like totally like not like disregard it either, because those same lows that don't do good, then like I have to figure out why. Like I have to like dive into
Learning
like
experience.
Right. Like when I post it, then it's like
Yeah.
it lets me learn, you know. So I think that's more than anything the way I look at it is when I'm posting, it's testing the waters of like, okay, what is quality to my viewers,
Right.
you know, and then, you know, what's getting me the business too, you know, like what kind of business am I getting from doing it? I'm still getting fucking great leads, you know.
For sure.
So
No,
I don't
100%.
feel like I'm doing anything necessarily
wrong.
Yeah.
And no, totally. I respect the way you are, and I you know, agree it makes you.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm not going to sit here and try to change your mind. So,
Sure.
with that being said,
We'll try to change your mind.
No, I'm just going to ask you some questions.
Yeah.
So, like, would you agree that people think of you, not just with creatively speaking or business, just in general, people think of you based on the average of what you are? So, for example, if you're a really good husband one day, but
Yeah.
the next day you're a really shitty husband,
Yeah.
is your wife going to think of like the best day you had as a husband, or is she going to think of how you are on average?
No, she's definitely gonna probably think of me on that.
And would you say maybe that's how people think of you, like in business too, like on social media? If you're like posting some good stuff one day, but the next day it's like, what am I looking at? You know, not
Absolutely.
to say that's you,
No. I
but just saying, I think there's something to be said about the importance of like the average of what you're posting. And
sure.
I think that's what's always been, I've just been really aware of that and very sensitive to that.
Yeah.
And I'm always just like not wanting to post anything that's below that bar.
Right. So,
You know?
like in that regard, I agree completely. It's like it goes into the self-evaluation stuff. Like, especially as you grow and you do more, like eventually at some point, like you're gonna have to set a bar that you're just never gonna go below. And
A standard, yeah.
a standard, but that standard doesn't stay that, right? Like that standard ideally is like that standard keeps climbing. You would hope
For sure.
your quality gets better. Like every time like you do another one, you want to look back at the standard and say, okay, is this one better than that standard? It is. Okay, cool. Now this is the standard.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I think you do that, but you do that like
The standard is so high.
it's very high.
The filter is so strong that almost nothing gets through.
Right.
Yeah.
And see, for me, especially with social media, the way that social media game is, like, in my opinion, like, that standard, it can do you more harm if it's too high, because the net that you can cast into and the pool that you can cast to is so vast that like I mean I get a ton of bookings from Instagram. I get a bunch of like eyes on my work from Instagram, you know, and I never want to like dilute that completely by having such a high standard that I don't utilize it to its full capabilities.
I think I just thought of an analogy, and it's like your approach is like, I'm gonna use this bait and I'm gonna go fish in 1,000,000 ponds, and my approach is like, I'm gonna fish in one pond with the best bait. It's like, who's gonna catch more fish?
Right.
And it's like, I don't know, it's kind of a paradox where it's like my perfectionism is holding me back, but at the same time it's also driving me forward.
Yes.
Do you find that? And it's almost
sure.
like both are true at the same time. And so
For sure.
it's almost like I want to post more and be more active on social media, but at the same time I can't be too mad about it because I'm at where I'm at.
Yeah.
And it's like it's suited me well so far.
I think too, there's also obviously more than one ways to like still stay in business, right? Like I don't think not doing social media that often is going to kill your business, you know? But I don't think it's not helping you either. You know what I'm saying? Like posting more on social media could certainly help you, but not doing it like you are now is certainly not killing you either. Like there's other methods, you know, like networking, you know, like that's the biggest thing, especially when you start to climb in your standard. Having planners that you're connecting with helps like hell, you know?
Right.
So like, not being so wedding related with this, but just networking in general, like knowing the right people and like doing the right work for them and quality works in their eyes, then that will get you work outside of, they don't give a shit what you're posting, you know? So, of course my wife, no, that's not my wife. I don't know who the hell that is. So in that regard, like I said, I don't think not posting is gonna kill your business. I never like say, well, Blake needs to post more. He's gonna lose business. No, but like you've established yourself, you have the connections, and you're still putting out quality work.
You can pull leads from different sources.
Exactly right.
100%.
Exactly right. I just, like I said, for me, and where I'm at, I'm still in that. I feel like they're still in that building process and stuff like that, and I don't know. I find success there, you know, and I'm finding success for me to still climb there. So it's not like
sure.
I'm not gonna back off anytime soon. For that.
On the one hand, I feel so confident in my method and like how it's better. But on the other hand, like you said, you're getting good leads, so you can't deny that your way is working too. And that just goes to show you, like, we talked about this earlier. There is some level of like objectivity in business, like
for sure,
right or wrong. But then there's a whole other level of subjectivity where it's like there's more than one way to do it. You know.
I think especially for this specific one that you're talking about, when it comes to like
social media and
social
posting.
media, the quality control is being more the arcing thing. Is that quality control? It's not like a hard line. Like that quality control range
got some flex.
It's got some flex, right?
Yeah.
And that's why like you as an individual can define what that is for you. But this is where you have to, like, we've had this conversation with a friend before. Like, if you don't like what you're getting, then you have to figure out is it your quality control issue? Like, are you not right? Do you not have enough control on that quality to bring in the quality that you want? What is it, right? You need to figure out something. Me, I'm happy where I'm at, right? So
happy with your clients.
Right, I'm happy with my clients. I'm doing something right in my eyes.
Right.
That might not be right in your eyes, but that's your business, right? So like that's where the flex comes in on that quality control line, you know? That's why I don't think you're doing necessarily wrong. As long as you keep getting the fucking clients that you want, then you're doing it right for you.
For sure.
Same for me, you know?
For
but
sure.
at any point that I would sit here and be like, Blake, I'm just not getting the fucking leads, right? Then you could be like, well, I mean, you're not posting the best work.
Right,
You know?
right.
So,
it's kind of like until it's broke, it's working fine.
For sure.
But once it breaks, then you can evaluate.
You got to evaluate it, right?
Yeah,
so, I mean, so in that regard, self-evaluation was going to be my next one, right?
Okay.
Like, I think a mistake that people make often is not self-evaluating enough and being hard and like really hard on themselves, right? Like really asking themselves on that quality control thing. Like,
for sure.
And when it comes to quality control of my social medias, I'm a little bit looser, you know, for sure. On like certain pieces, I will say, but when it comes to those teasers, man, I try to fucking like kill them.
You fine tune them more.
I try to. Yeah. Those are my films, and basically,
right.
You know, those ones that I know, like I want people to look at and book me from. I give everything on, right? And I really try to make sure like that's my next big thing, you know. And I'm hard on myself on those, you know. I'm really hard, and because I even evaluate usually when those teasers come out, it's the most recent work I just shot. So I'm even like analyzing like my camera work, my movements, my composition. I'm always self-evaluating that, and like if I don't look at my work and think like, dude, I'm fucking better, that's great. Yeah. That's a problem.
I completely agree, and this could seem sort of toxic, but I think it's been so crucial to my success. But it's just never quite being satisfied, like never looking at your own work and being like, that's pretty good. And if even if I do feel that, it's for maybe a few seconds or a minute, and then it's, damn, I wish I would have done that better.
Same.
And so just having this like constant like dissatisfaction, just this drive to always want to get better. And it sounds corny, but yeah, just like, I don't know, not being so quick to step back and be proud of what you did. It's almost like just being almost like, it sounds toxic, but just being like really, really hard on yourself, being really almost negative.
Yeah.
Like, no, that sucks. Yeah. It sucks. And just always,
just looking for things to fix like right away.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like I notice, I notice things, don't get me wrong. Like I definitely notice things I get right. Like I never want to be too negative that like I discourage myself. But in my kind of personality though, like the negative kind of like doesn't discourage me anyways. It like actually fires me up, which is exactly what you were just saying.
Yeah.
When you see it, you're just like, that shit sucks. I can do better. Like that fires you up to do better. But not everybody's that way. That's the problem in my opinion.
And kind of like going onto that, I think a lot of people are attached emotionally to their work.
Yeah.
And they take everything personal, which I get. I can understand the temptation to feel that way. But I think like a huge thing for me is just like, yeah, it's my work. Yeah, I created it. Yes, I get the validation when I post it. But I feel very like detached from it in a sense where like I'm not looking at it thinking, oh, it's my work, it sucks, I suck. It's more of like, how can this be better as an art piece standing on its own?
For sure.
That has nothing to do with me or like my value as a person. It has just like an objectively speaking, how can this be better?
That's the best way to say it, because that's exactly how I look at it too.
Yeah.
I think that is the ultimate thing that like holds people back, is they're so attached to it, like personality wise. If their work sucks, then they shouldn't exist as a human. Like it's that drastic.
Yes.
It's like, no, bro. Like like you can still be alive and you're still worth something.
You're still a valuable person
without your work still sucking. You know,
sure.
like
for sure.
Like don't be that sensitive about it.
You almost have to take this like scientific approach to it. You know?
Yeah.
Just like
it's its own entity.
X's and O's, like strategy, like how does this get better?
You have to have thicker skin with it, right?
For sure.
You just like, I coach a soccer team, and that was one of the things I told them when we just watched film in this last tournament. Like we looked at it and it's like, listen, we're here to look at our mistakes. We're here to look at like what we sucked at and what we can improve. I think anyone who is smart does that. You know, they look at the mistake that they made and go in the next time knowing those mistakes, and they like actively correct those mistakes. Unless you're looking for that in your work, then you're just gonna like, you're gonna be here, right? You're just gonna like stay that. And
for sure.
And I knew that from very early on, that I didn't want to stay here. You know, like I want to be the best, man.
Right.
You know, that's like my goal, is to be the best. And in order to be the best, you have to analyze everything. Give yourself some wins if it makes you feel better by saying, oh yeah, I did that good. But those are temporary. Like
for sure.
When I see something I do good and do right, I'm like, that's a quick high. But after that, it's like, okay, now what can I do better? You know,
100%. My wife and I have kind of differed on this, where it's like, it makes total sense. Men and women are different. She needs and thrives on those periodic sort of, validations, or those periodic, pause to look at your work and acknowledge that it's good. Whereas I could go months and months with like never really quite, getting any validation, but just still being so hooked on the process of like getting better.
For sure.
And I don't need that, like, and so I don't know, we've differed on that, but I've had to learn that, like, me and you we're different, let's be honest, and not everybody is so not everybody has thick skin. And so I think it's important to like, I like the way I am, but it's like, got to recognize that it's not the only way. You know?
I would say it's one of the most successful ways, though. In my opinion,
Yeah.
I think having thicker skin is necessary.
It's definitely what's the word? Advantageous?
Maybe. What does that mean?
I think that's a word.
It's a word. I just don't know what it means.
It
really.
benefits you, is what I'm saying.
Okay,
it's
cool.
it helps you out.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah, because Lauren and I have been in situations where she pulls up a photo that she took, and it's a great photo, but my mind goes to like, how could it be better? My mind's like, ooh, you should have done this, or like, ooh, edit that out, or ooh, it's a little red, it's a little green. Whereas her mind is like, she's just looking for me to say like, this is a good photo.
Right.
Like, she just wants to sit there for a second, like, bask in the fact that, like, this is a good photo. Whereas
Right.
I'm like, yeah, it's good, but, like, how could it be better?
That's
And
hilarious.
I'm always
to say
on that, like,
Yeah.
how could it be better train?
No, and
And it is kind of like, I will admit, like, it can be toxic.
No,
it can
you're
be,
right.
especially in relationships.
Oh my God,
it's
yes.
toxic.
Listen, when my wife makes like dinner, she'll be the first to tell you. I'm always like, it's good.
Need some more salt.
Well, we just need something, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm always like, you know, we should have made with dinner, and she's like, motherfucker, like, of course, you're something else
Just
we could have
tell her
done
thanks
for it.
for cooking,
I'm
man.
like, well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I don't look at it as a bad thing, though. I don't look at it. I guess that's the way we look at like the bad things we look at. We don't look at it as a bad thing to look at them. You know, like, it's not a bad thing to us to
It's
recognize.
not personal. It's not attached to our value.
It's a good thing. We
Yeah.
both look at it as a positive thing to evaluate something to be better. You know,
Right.
It's not a negative connotation. But like, my wife will tell you, like, there's always something in this that when you need it. There's always something. Like, I'm like, well, I mean, like, to be better, sure. I mean, like, what's wrong with that? Like, why? I feel like if you want to keep climbing, there's always something to evaluate that it could be better.
Yeah,
You know,
for sure.
I don't know if I'll ever hit that threshold. That is like, no, this is perfect. I think that's. I don't know.
Me and you are more addicted to. It sounds so corny, but we're more addicted to like the journey, not so much the destination.
For sure.
I'm never gonna get to a place
For
where
sure.
like I made it. I'm more so hooked on the day to day, like just the process of getting better and better.
Absolutely.
It's like a drug, dude. It's like,
Absolutely.
I'm so hooked on it. You know.
Absolutely. I think that and that's why I touched base on this other podcast I was just on. Yeah, just enjoying that process. A lot of people want to just be there like right away. You know, they want to like. I talk to a lot of videographers who are like, how are you doing this? You know, and then thinks that the answer to like how do I do something is immediately going to like be the answer. You know, it's immediately going to get them there.
Shortcut.
Right.
Yeah.
But there really is no shortcut. Like, it's you have to literally embrace the
You have
process.
to love it for sure.
You have to like love. You have to almost love sucking for a little bit on certain things and embrace that you suck on certain things.
Yeah.
Just to like enjoy that more and enjoy the grind to get better.
That's a good segue. So my next point was going to be, you know, again, we're talking about just like things that Lex and I think, people are doing wrong in business that are holding them back. And I think, you know, the next one I was going to say was just like early on in people's, you know, business journey, just the, just they're very picky and choosy about the work that they take. And they're very, you could say entitled. I know that word is thrown around so much, but just like people that are coming fresh out the gate, very new in whatever they're doing. It doesn't have to be video or photo. It could be any sort of like business endeavor, career, but just having this sense of like, you know, being very picky and choosy, entitled to like, I'm only going to take on this work and I'm only going to get paid this amount unless I'm not showing up. And just not willing to sort of like, you know, pay your dues and do your time and like, dude, like,
or be undervalued for a little bit. Like,
dude.
really,
like when I started,
seriously.
like a huge part of my success early on was like doing free work, doing cheap work, doing favors, like kissing ass, dude. Like, and that is like, that's so crucial, man. And like, I find so many people now are starting with this, you know, like
I deserve it all right now.
Yeah, like, well, I got this camera and the standard second shooter rate is $50 an hour.
Like,
dude, like
get out of here, bro.
Like, bro, like, no.
I agree. I agree completely with that. I agree completely with that. Right. Like, so I think I want to clear something up. At the beginning, my point was not being selective enough. Right. But I want to be clear. At that beginning, I did take everything I could because I had something to prove.
Yeah.
Right.
Still busted ass.
Right. So I want to be clear about what the difference is between what you just said and what I was saying at the beginning. I did that. I took everything I could, but my vision wasn't for that for long, right? So at the beginning, you need to take everything you can. You have something to fucking prove. If you think just having a camera or just being alive is worth something, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
Right? Like, a lot of people think, well, I'm human. I should get paid. Like, I deserve to have money to pay for a house and stuff like, no, you fucking don't. Like, for sure. Sorry. Like, you don't. Like, this is the real world. Like, let's wake up. Like,
right.
You're human, sure. And like, you deserve to be treated like a human, sure. But you don't deserve anything else other than that. Like, I'm not going to treat anybody like shit because like of what they're paid or what they're doing in their career. Like, I'm not going to do that. But if you expect to immediately just start to get paid what you're worth, you know, you're out of your fucking gourd. You're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to work for it hard, and you're going to have to prove it, you know?
Yeah.
I think that working your wage bullshit is bullshit, you know? To come in there and be like...
This sort of one-size-fits-all pricing based off of a career type, where it's like, videographer, second shooter, the standard rate is X amount. And it's like,
Right.
there's such a big range in quality, you know, like you might get one second shooter and a different one, you know, two different people, different sets of skills. One's
Right.
really good. One's, again, you're going to pay them both the same amount? Like,
No,
absolutely
no,
not, you know?
no. Right. So like that example would be like, okay, someone who just bought a camera and he wants to start second shooting for people because maybe he wants to start doing his own wedding work one day, right? He just got his camera. He's new. Okay. What do you think he's worth? Should he immediately feel like, should he go on a Facebook forum and say, hey, what is the going rate for a second shooter? And everyone says $50 an hour. Do you think he immediately
Absolutely
should require?
not.
Absolutely
Dude,
not.
if you,
I
if you
agree.
just got a camera, dude, I mean, shoot a few weddings for free. Like,
That's what I'm saying.
Like, yeah, and this, like I said, this goes for any field, you know. Like,
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
you're a fresh hire out of college, let's go that route for a sec.
Yeah.
And you're looking for jobs. Like, you cannot be going into the interview with all these demands. Like, you
Right.
have no leverage.
No.
You have no experience. You have
Yeah.
nothing to leverage your request on. So, like, if you have no leverage, you like, I think that's what it's about. It's about leverage.
Absolutely.
And it's like, if you have none, like, you can't act like you do.
Right.
You can't walk into an interview or a negotiation money wise and just expect all these things.
Well, you can't think that just because everyone else is getting paid that, like the average,
they
right?
feel entitled to the same.
Well,
Yeah.
right. That's their leverage. Like they feel like
right. Well,
they
this
feel
other
like
person, yeah.
right. This other person, this whole Facebook forum said that that the starting rate is $50 an hour. Why wouldn't I get that? Well, because you have no fucking experience. Yeah, sure, that's everybody else, but that's not you.
Lex is so mad right now.
No, it drives me insane, dude. It really does. It's just like even just like lead videographers who start charging what they charge. They're gonna go on and be like, hey, what is a typical price that everyone's charging for a ceremony at? What is a typical price that oh, it's not recording now on TV on there.
It's not?
It stopped.
Oh,
It was
shit.
before, I think.
It's all good.
It's all good.
Dude, just audio for the first episode?
No, I'll start it right now. Just let me turn it on. Just make sure. Recording limit? That doesn't make any sense. It said we had it just stopped.
Just recently?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have film on it. That's fine. Sorry, we had to turn it back on. It said I had a maximum record limit, which is weird because
Huh.
I'm external.
I don't trust your gear, bro. I'm about to start bringing my Sonys.
I'm sorry.
Lex has got the most dinosaur setup over here.
So, anyways,
Anyway. We were talking about, so
the entitlement of that, right? Just like people think that, fresh out of, like you said, fresh out of college, fresh out of whatever, no experience, nothing, but the knowledge of this is what average people get paid for, that they deserve that. And it's, you don't.
it's almost just like a pride thing too, where it's like, I'm too good. I'm too good to eat shit. Like,
Yeah.
I'm too good.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I've told Lauren, like, don't get me wrong, I love what I do and I love shooting weddings, but there was ever a point where, like, I don't know, the economy was bad or something, bookings were down. Like, I would go and dig ditches. I would be a
Same.
plumber.
Same.
I would do whatever you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I just think, like, you can't have this vision of yourself where it's like, I'm too good to
Yeah.
do this shitty work. I'm
Exactly.
too good to, like, kiss someone's ass. Like, no, you're not, bro.
Agreed.
Kiss
Agreed.
ass as long as you need to,
Absolutely 100%
Like,
agree.
it sounds it sounds extreme, but like, be someone's peasant for a while.
Whatever you gotta do, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
What you gotta do? Listen, and as there's nothing wrong with keeping a state of mind though in that you're not worth this, right? Like going in and doing so. Like let's flash back. Let's say this is my first wedding that I'm shooting for, or even second shooting. First one, trying to get experience. Dude, I'm gonna go in there and be the hardest motherfucking worker ever, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to be a sponge and just learn everything, and I don't care what I'm getting paid,
Right.
even though I know I'm worth it. Like even though I have the vision to be like, listen,
Yeah.
I know I have the work ethic, I know I have the drive, I know I can have the skill. I'm still humble enough to be like,
For sure.
I need the knowledge.
It's temporary.
Now.
You know that it's temporary.
Exactly
There's a
right.
quote, and I might butcher this, but it's the quote is something along the lines of like, a man who does more than he's willing, he works harder than he's being paid for, will one day get paid for more than he's working.
Yeah.
Something along those
Yeah, I
lines.
know what you're talking
Basically,
about.
the idea that like, yeah, if you're worth $1,000 right now, but you're busting your ass and working like somebody who's supposed to get paid $5, one
Right.
day you're gonna get paid way more than you're supposed. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
There's sort of like an inverted flip there that happens
Absolutely.
once you put in the time. And I find me and you are starting to reap the benefits of that now, where it's like
Absolutely.
we do have the leverage and we have the knowledge that we've built up over years and years. So yeah, on the surface, it's like it almost looks like we're ripping people off. It's like, wow, you get to show up on a wedding day and shoot for like 6-8 hours and make like $4 or $5 grand. Like that's kind of a scam, but it's like, no, it's not. Like
Yeah.
we've been studying and perfecting our craft for years. So it's
Absolutely.
like we're just now reaping the benefits of, like I said, where you get to sort of charge that's seemingly more seemingly higher than it should be for the work
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah, and then all that is it gets refined as you grow, right? Like the more that you do that, I feel like the more that you are worth that, and then the more you're even past worth that, right? Like I know I can shoot 8 hours worth of footage now, and it's 10 times better than I've shot 8 hours at like when I first started.
For sure.
Just because I know, like, I've done it so many times, I refined the process so many times that I know I'm worth that now, and now I know I'm worth even more than that, right?
Right.
But that game never stops. I never stop like putting in even more than what I'm getting, you know, like I'm always like, and don't get me wrong, there's some business moves in that I think are still like, you need to make sure like you're not like on the edit part, you know. I know for me at some point, like I can keep going on in the edit, but I just gotta I gotta stop.
Press
like,
export.
I gotta press export and move on, right? So I think there's something to that later on, you know, like knowing that. But my point being that the grind of like just like putting in the effort and realizing when there's opportunity to put in like even more effort than what you're paid, quote unquote paid for, I don't think it ever stops being beneficial, you know. But again, a lot of people like that at the beginning, man. They just like they want the money that everyone else is making right now.
Yes, it's this idea of like, what's the least amount of effort I can put in while still doing the job, where it's like, it's the opposite. It's like, you know, for what I'm getting paid, what's the most amount I can give?
Yeah.
What's the most amount of value I can provide for $1,000?
Absolutely.
Versus what's the least amount of work I can do and still get away with it.
And think about this too, right? A lot of these positions are we're talking about like entry level stuff, right? Bro, they're gonna go find somebody else.
You're replaceable.
You're so replaceable.
Yes.
I hate when people try to argue for fucking more pay or more time or whatever, right? They want more for a fucking entry level thing that they don't give a fuck.
Yeah, and that, you know, we live in a capitalist system, hate it or love it, and so really your value is determined by how replaceable are you. And I always use the analogy of a doctor, like a brain surgeon. In Lafayette right now, it's a pretty small, medium-sized city, you would say. How many brain surgeons do you think can do a thing on your brain right now? Maybe like 5 to 10.
Yeah, not a lot.
That's why they get paid so much. Just like I count on a couple hands.
They're not replaceable
versus
like
Starbucks making espresso.
Yeah.
How many people can go and make an espresso coffee with 1 day of training?
Yeah.
Anybody.
Right. If you're espresso, like if you're working at Starbucks and you're pissed off that you're not making more money and you deserve more money, just look around you and see who can replace you.
What can you do that most people cannot do?
Right.
And if you don't have anything, that's why, you know what I'm saying? So, like, you know, going back to the thing earlier, it's like people have this view that's like each profession should have this standard rate. And it's like, well, I mean, for Starbucks, maybe so.
Yeah.
But in our freelance profession, it's more about, you know, how replaceable are you? How many people can make a video like you can?
Absolutely.
Or how I can.
Absolutely.
And that's you know what I'm saying?
That's what separates you.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I think that's another good transition is the separation one. You know, not a lot of people at the beginning find ways to really separate themselves, right? They're going to literally look at everyone and what everyone else is doing and try to mimic that to a T, which I think, don't get me wrong, there's some degree to help, like, you know, finding someone's work that you love and trying to attach yourself to learning how they did it and maybe trying to do it the same way. But then there comes also crossroads where you're like, okay, not only the way I looked at it was, okay, this is how this person was doing it, but how can I fucking do it better? How can I not only do what they're doing, but do it better and then tweak it to like my liking?
Yeah.
And that slowly starts to mold into your way of separating yourself, right?
For sure.
Don't get me wrong. It's super hard to separate yourself just in general today because, you know, nothing, I mean, you've said this before. We've had this conversation where nothing is like original, you know? Like a lot of people strive too much to be original, and I think that hurts them on that side. But also in the same regard, you know, whenever I'm putting my work out, and I'm also keeping in mind that there are also hundreds of other videographers, especially as a travel one now, doing more travel work. Right. There are hundreds of other that are doing really good work too. So I keep that in perspective. I don't put my shit out thinking it's like it doesn't stink in that sense, you know. Like I'm still humble about it, you know.
For sure.
But I am still trying to strive to find ways to stand out, to make my work noticeable. You know,
right.
I'm not. My point being, I think not enough people do that. Is they post their work on social media and think that, like, you know, it's a great photo, people are gonna love it, and then it kind of falls flat. Well, guess what? A lot of motherfuckers are doing great photos too.
It's not that it's bad. It's just it's been seen. It's been done already.
Seen.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, when I first started, I thought that sort of process of trying to set myself apart, I thought it would be a very like sort of like conscious effort where it's like, okay, I have to think about what I'm going to do that's like going to be really different and cool. But what I found more and more so, I don't know if this is for you too, but like the more I went on, I found that the process of sort of becoming somewhat unique was more sort of like a natural thing that just kind of played out.
I agree with that.
It's not so much of like, you know, a decision of like to do things differently on purpose, but more so just like kind of leaning into the things that like are really sort of like just unique and like almost sort of weird. You know,
Yeah.
you have some things about you that are weird, and I have some things about me that are weird. Some tastes, some music preferences that are just really different. And I think just like leaning into that, you know, like, you know, it's so corny, the quote about like there's no one like you or whatever. But it's true. Like there's nobody, you know, there's nobody with your exact combination of like music taste and like preference for color. Like you're a unique blend of like ingredients. And so I think just like, for me, music is a big one. Leaning into like my specific music taste has been cool. I haven't done it as much in the past, but I think going forward, I really want to, just like use that weird ass song that I want to in the wedding film that nobody else would ever use. You know?
For sure. And I think I like that you said that, because I do agree with, just starting to like at some point that threshold, you stop looking at other people's work so much. I don't know about you, but like when I first go on, I looked at a lot of people's work, and I did too. That kind of gave me the spark to like maybe get my film started. Yeah, bro, I can't tell you the last time I've looked at someone's work to like.
I think it's just a part of the process. Like when you start, you learn, you try to copy people to just learn the laws of the game. You're trying to just figure out how to like just get a basis of like how to make a good film, and then from there. It's I don't know about you, but I find, I agree. I look at people's work less and less now. And to me now, the way I'm able to get better and improve is more so just experimentation. Right. It's just like, taking what I have and just tweaking things and like trying different stuff. That's right. It's like an experiment. You're literally just like, plug and play. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, this did work. And just like, you kind of like strike magic sometimes.
Absolutely. You know? I agree with that. And try to like arc that into like other lines of business. I definitely think that, like I said, let's say you're in a position and you're in an entry-level position. You do everything you can to stand out from other entry-level positions that are in the same. Like, what are they doing that necessarily, like maybe notice what they're doing bad, notice what they're doing good. How can you do the good better? How can you do the bad not bad at all, right? And then just continue making those steps to keep pressing and pressing and pressing, like and standing out from what that is. For sure. And then owning it in your way. Your way that only you can own it in, you know? I think that one is super important to keep in perspective, because it's easy to like think you're good and think that putting out a good photo or whatever is good enough, but honestly, like a lot of people are doing good. A lot of people are doing great things, you know. Not only doing great things is usually not only enough. Standing out from those great things and still on top of doing great things is what it really takes. So for sure. Anyways, that's. I don't got more.
I think I have one more.
What you got?
I think my last one. Wrap it up with this last sort of bullet point. So I think my last one would be, again, when people are getting started, with business, maybe not even just when they're getting started, maybe just in general. I think a lot of people are too conservative with like just sort of playing it safe. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that's just like you're playing a losing game. You know. Yeah. I think in our field, for example, like getting started, I know it's sort of tempting, right? Where it's like, okay, I'm dealing with a limited budget. I'm going to buy the cheap lens. I'm going to buy the knockoff brand. Yeah. And, this goes for any sort of, I guess, field really. But just like when you're getting started, just like I think it would be really beneficial for people just to like buy the right gear the first time. Like
dive in.
Yeah, like learn the thing. Like don't take so many shortcuts, Yeah. Like just like you're either in or you're out. Like, Sure. And I think if people went all in more, they'd see a lot more. Yeah. A lot more success. And so I sort of always had that mentality, and I didn't know it was that crucial early on. I just was a guy with expensive taste, so I just wanted the better gear. For sure. But I started noticing that, like, everyone, I looked around and everybody who was buying the cheap stuff and like kind of like cutting corners with their business and like half effort here, half effort there, I just noticed they weren't doing as well. Yeah. And I think there's something to be said about that.
Yeah, I agree. I think, just like even put like you can carry that over into work ethic, how much time you're putting into something, all that kind of stuff. Being half in, half out, especially in our line of business, there can be a lot of like weekend warriors, but at some point you just have to like fucking say like I'm going, I'm all in. I'm gonna buy that expensive lens that's I know it's gonna like come back and make my work look better. For right? Sure. Like you have to at some point you're gonna come to a crossroads where cutting the corners is just not gonna fucking cut it anymore.
Agreed. I think there's sort of this myth in business that like a business can be sort of stable, flatline, and just like operate at the same level and just survive. But I think like I really truly believe that like a business is either growing or dying. And I think as soon as you start to like cut corners, pinch pennies, and you're like, all right, we're just gonna like stop investing into the business and stop putting as much effort. And we're just gonna let this ride on autopilot. That's just that. As soon as that happens, like your business is going downhill.
Yeah, absolutely.
You find that with like restaurants a lot. I find. You know, they have a good recipe, they're booming, and then they just don't change a thing for 20 years, and they always end up closing.
Yeah.
Like you should research the restaurant industry. It's really like fascinating. Like restaurants almost never stay open for longer than like 50-ish years.
Dude, especially here in Lafayette.
Like it's unheard of. Like, dude, we've had restaurants in the United States for like 200-300 years. How many restaurants do you know of that have been open since the 1800s?
Yeah.
You would think they would just pass it on to their son, and they would no, that never happened. They always close. Even like really good restaurants, they end up closing, and it's because they stagnate. Yeah. They do the same shit.
I think even with the ones that have been around for a long time, like the big chains, stuff like that, they have like an anchor that they kind of like just like planted their flag on, but they're constantly evaluating and constantly growing within that and pushing and changing and growing, evolving, right? And again, just putting forth the time, the money, the work, whatever it is, into quality, into like just growth, overall growth, not neglecting it, I agree with what you said earlier. There's no such thing as like just like, all right, cool, it's running.
Just leave it alone.
It's autopilot.
Like no, you got to be on top of like looking for fires to put out.
There was this videographer, wedding videographer, he posted on his status the other day. There's no such thing as like true passive income, and I thought that was pretty interesting because, I mean, everyone talks these days. It's like one of the big things is like passive income. I want to try to make passive income, right? Airbnbs. Let me get some just like fucking fine.
I get so fired up about that.
And like I love that too. Like don't get me wrong. There's other businesses that I want to start. Other things that I want to do that just like bring in money. But I mean, does he have a point? Is there any real such thing as passive?
Maybe. So I think even passive income to set it up requires a lot of active working.
Right.
So that's one thing. But no, the other thing that pisses me off is like, I feel like I'm acting like Lex right here, but
getting fired up.
Yeah, no, another thing that bothers me is like it seems like the people that are seeking out quote unquote passive income the most are people that haven't even like created non-passive income. Like your job and your like salary is not even that good yet, and you're already worried about passive income. Like, dog, you're trying to skip to step 5 before you even did step 1. You know, like I think passive income is something you worry about later. Like you build your foundation, your career, your salary. You make that really good, and then if you have some extra, like that's the other thing. To set up passive income, you need a lot more money. Like you can't just have an extra $1,000. Like no, you need like real estate. You need 50, 100,000 plus at least. Yeah, no, you're right. Any sort of passive income settings, even stocks, you're not going to make anything with like.
Yeah.
So I think people jump the gun a little on that. Yeah, I would say.
Well, I mean, this kind of brings up one for me then. I mean, the grind. Like not enough people like have what it takes in them to grind because they think about just that from the get-go. Like you said, they immediately jump to step 5.
Right.
They immediately see like somebody who has passive income, and they're just like, you know what, that's what I want because they're not doing shit. But you had no idea what the shit they had to do to even get to that passive income. And you don't have any idea, and you don't care to have any idea,
right? Because
that requires actual grind. That requires actual work ethic.
For sure.
So in that regard, a lot of people in the mistakes they make is right from the get go just want to like get something to autopilot. Like fuck that.
Like I said earlier, do your time, pay your dues.
My vision when I first started was never just like, I'm gonna grow Abshire Films to where everybody's working for me and I can just fucking chill, right? That was never, honestly, not even on my mind at all. It was, I knew it was going to require a lot of work. And even though like it was like I did have one vision of, I would like to like 10 weddings where I don't have to work as much as quantity. I don't have to work as many, but I would give a lot of work to those 10. So it was like, it was still a lot of work, just different positioned work, My point being though, is I wanted that grind. And not a lot of people do. They don't want that fucking grind. They just want the benefits.
I think I agreed. And I think it's like people just want to be just good enough. They don't need nothing more, you know? Yeah. And it's like they seek out from the get-go. Like from the very beginning, they're like, what do I want to be? I just want to be good enough. Yeah. And I just hate that.
I hate that too.
I hate that, dude.
I hate that too.
Because it's like, you're just destined to fail at that point,
I don't understand the 9 to 5 like
don't
like
hit on that.
My bills.
9 to 5 is underrated, bro. Watch your mouth.
No,
I want a 9 to 5 job. Not really.
I just hate. I hate more of the mentality it brings up. Just like how should I say this?
Yeah, no. I think a large percentage of the 9 to 5, world, they're very, they're not ambitious, and they're not achievement driven.
Yeah.
But you can't blame them, because you can't blame them. To me, it's a natural product of the environment where it's like, no matter, you could get a raise and you can get promoted, but for the most part, no matter how much work you put in, you're going to get paid the same, generally speaking. So there's not an incentive to like work harder and achieve anything. And even if you do achieve something, it's not you, it's the company, it's your boss you're achieving for.
Yeah.
And so, to be honest, I don't know, I have sympathy for that. I think if me and you were in the 9 to 5, we might not have the same grind, same work ethic.
Yeah. I think there might be some truth to that for sure. Like, grinding for ourselves has been definitely a different experience than grinding for someone else. But that being said, I don't know. Like, I think there's also other achievements along the way that you can still try to set for yourself, and every business is different. Every place that you're in, like, I wouldn't want to work for a place too long that I immediately don't feel like I can climb. If I feel like I can't climb in this business, and I'm not fucking working here.
Agreed.
I don't think owning your own business is the only way to set like achievements and goals for yourself. I feel like there are businesses out there that can do that as well. And I think finding the perfect fit has something to do with that too,
Right.
all that kind of shit. But regardless, I don't like just like clocking in, making you money, clocking out, and paying your bills. In my opinion, I feel like it's just so stagnant. It's just like, and it's honestly, let's like be real, it's not hard to achieve.
Yeah,
it's not hard to do.
It's not even just like it goes to 9 to 5. It goes for self-employed people like me and you. It goes for just like in life. Like, how many people set out to do something, like they start doing their fitness journey, and they're like, I don't want to look too good. I don't want to look like those people that look really good. I don't want to look like them. I just want to look like decent. And it's like people are almost like afraid of like success almost.
For
sure.
You
find that?
Absolutely.
Like, they're almost afraid just to own it and say like, yeah, that person on TV that looks really good and has a lot of money, I want to be like them.
Well,
like, just own it.
Because it's a taboo thing sometimes, bro. Like,
I think it's a coping mechanism where it's like, I know I'm never going to try that hard, so I'm going to tell myself I don't even want that. To be able to cope with the fact that I'll never achieve it. Okay, so like here's a perfect example. I was actually talking to a planner about the other day. A lot of people like to shit on people who spend a lot of money on their weddings, right? They like to shit on me like, I would never spend that on a wedding. Like, you wish you could spend that much money.
Yeah, come on, get the fuck out of here.
Like, how many people don't want more money?
Yeah, like, come on, don't sit here and fucking be so better than me that you don't need that, like, right. I'd rather just spend that money on a honeymoon. Sure, well, what if you can spend it on both? Yeah, then you would do that, right?
For sure.
Like, and like, let's be going back to the point I was saying with that planner. It's like, people like to shit on someone who will spend the money on something like that whenever, like, especially if they have it, because they want to have a good time. They want to value that experience. Like, there's no reason like you need to shit on someone for wanting a better experience, wanting more money, wanting like that. But that's how we're trained. We're so trained sometimes to stay so humble that we can't, like, the pursuit of anything of success or money like that is immediately like,
it's offensive.
It's offensive.
How
right?
How dare you want more for yourself?
Right. And it doesn't make any sense. It's just perceived as in like when we talk about the Jeff Bezos, and you talk about those people, like, billionaires shouldn't exist. This is bullshit. And like, I get it. Like, there's a lot to how they became billionaires that might have been like, like, looked down upon, but that's the game, bro. Like, you can't, like, they play, you have the same plans out in front of you that you can try to accomplish, right?
I say this all the time. It's like, you could complain about the rules or you can just play the game.
That's exactly right.
And that's our world in a nutshell. Like, yeah, there's corruption, there's like shit going on, and like, world's not perfect. Capitalism has its flaws, whatever.
For sure.
But it's like, what are you gonna do about it?
Right.
You're gonna change the world in your 70-year lifespan, or you're just gonna
some people would rather just sit here and bitch and complain about the money that they're not making,
right?
And then bitch at their friends for trying to make that money, or trying to stay on that grind,
Yes.
Even now, we talked about this before, there's that work-life balance thing where people are like, you shouldn't work your life away. You shouldn't work your life away. And it's like,
bro,
it's like, sure.
It's a whole episode.
It is. But you shouldn't.
Let me write that down.
Right. Yeah. Write that down. You should try to, like, be healthy with it. But if you're happy with, like, the day-to-day grind and, like, you want to keep grinding, then, bro, fucking rock it. Don't let another person tell you who's not happy in their life come and tell you that, like, it's unhealthy to work that much. Like,
for sure.
Fuck off, bro.
For sure.
Like, go do your own thing.
I just took note of that, and we're gonna jump into that in a whole episode.
Yeah,
I could talk about that for like an hour. Yeah,
I like that.
So should we wrap this one up here?
Yeah, I'm down with it.
Let's do it.
How
All
long
right. This was a 57-minute long podcast,
That's
episode
solid.
number 2. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We're gonna keep getting better, I think.
I think so.
We're gonna improve this setup. By the way, this is like pretty rink-a-dink, but
It's a start.
got to start, man. Got to start somewhere.
And we'll see
So
if
yeah.
Jet Coffee can sponsor us because we
Oh
showed
yeah.
their logo the
Little
entire
placement.
time.
You gotta send this to him. We might not. We do too many f-bombs to get sponsored.
Yeah, I
It's all
kind of thought.
So it's all good.
I meant to like give you like ask you that like if you wanted to like keep it like.
Raw.
I mean, I honestly
Everybody
I'm sorry.
curses.
I'm just gonna I know I'm gonna do it like
Yeah,
regardless.
no, it's all good.
It's something I'm gonna do, but
It's
we'll
all good.
figure it out.
It's all
But
good. Yeah,
anyways,
so,
we'll close it out on this.
Yeah. We'll be back soon.
Yeah.
Episode
So
number 3.
really quick, I'll just close. Like, let me think of a different way to close it. So, no, I think that's good. That's a good way to close it. Let's just close it out. Thank you guys. We'll talk to you later.
See you.